News Radio 970, WFLA. This is the battle of the talk show hosts. My name is Al Gardner. I'm a news guy by profession. I will be your moderator here at 970 WFLA. Brother Lionel unable to be with us today, the only absent. However, fasten your seatbelt, get the earplugs ready, and here on Gardner & Company, I will be... Now, Jeff, let me explain in advance. I'm a little skittish about the microphone. Jeff just opened up the mics. He is the captain at the controls, and I promptly shut them. Let me explain why. These guys, very often, some of them, many of them, not all of them, sometimes in a situation when they're with others, deal in volume. That will not be permitted on today's Battle of the Talk Show hosts. I will rule with an iron index finger. You might have heard something in the background. That was one of them screaming already. They're already loosening up. Let's now show the very poor judgment of opening the microphones at this time at 970 WFLA and welcome around the table. Let's start with the man you've heard this morning is Ted Webb. And Ted, good morning.
Morning, Albert. How are you?
Great. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Got your knee pads on and your elbow pads?
Yes,
ready
sir.
To rollerball around?
Yes, sir.
To his right, and that's the only time you'll ever hear that said, is Jay Marvin, is on at 8 o'clock in the evening. And Jay, good morning.
Hi, Al. How are you?
Very fine and great to see you, Jay. To his right, and that is apt.
That's true.
Is Mark Larson. And Mark, good morning.
Hi, how are you, Al?
The soft-spoken Mark Larson.
I never yell, I never scream. I'm always, Bhagwan Larson.
Remember that he said that. And to his right is...
No, in the next room, not to his right, outside in the corner somewhere.
Right, he's smoking. He's not allowed in the same room with us. His mic sounds a little different. Freddie Mertz, good morning.
Well, good morning.
You look amazingly lifelike.
Al Gardner, good morning.
All right, let's get right into the throat of it here.
So you got a cigarette?
No. All right, I'm going to shut their mics because we have to set a couple of ground rules here first. Number one, you can call in and suggest the topic. You can piggyback on a topic. In Hillsborough, 990-WFLA. Pinellas, 461-WFLA. The star 970 star. It's 970 star for the GTE mobile net star line. And the microage computer toll-free line is 800-940-WFLA. I think it is entirely appropriate to begin with a discussion about baseball. And I think Ted Webb hit it probably the best in his article in La Gazzetta when he asked the question, are we really deserving of the label Big League? Do we have what it takes to fall into that elite category? Let's ask ourselves a few questions. It is time to take inventory. Ted, if you would, let's start with you. A quick recap. Are we ready to be called Big League?
I don't think so, Al. I really don't. One thing, let's take a look at the political leaders that we have in both counties, and I do not see one of them emerging as a big town leader, somebody with a lot of chutzpah. We've got a lot of guys and women that are town oriented, and I don't think we have the leadership right now to be considered big league city. I really don't.
Jay Marvin, are we a big league city? If so, why? If not, why not?
I don't care whether we're a big league city or not. I don't care about politics. I just care about emotion. I just want baseball. Baseball is like, I was saying this to Teddy earlier, because I've lived in several towns that have had baseball.
We have baseball.
And Chicago. But wait a minute, Freddie. Baseball is one of the few places where everybody can go, regardless of what your political leanings are. Have a good time. Ted has brought up the point to me off the air that, they have jacked up the price of the cheap seats, but still, it's one of the best buys around for entertainment. I just want to go see baseball. I don't care whether we're a big league town or not. I don't care how many people showed up to see Schwarzkopf. I don't care. Look at all the people who showed up at Boomsday. I don't care about any of that. Can we just forget the politics and can we have baseball?
Well, baseball
and tell me why Denver and Miami deserve baseball more than we do, because no one has worked harder to get baseball. How long have we been at it, Teddy, trying to get baseball?
1977.
Okay, that's a long, long time.
Well, they've been trying as long in Denver and in Miami as well.
Yeah, but those people started sniping at us when it was
all right, let's
perceived that we were number one.
All right, hold on, guys.
Baseball.
Opening statement, Freddie Mertz, since you kind of pulled your way in. Go ahead.
Pardon me, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'd love for Tampa Bay to have baseball. But the point is, you can't have baseball in Miami and Tampa coming in the same year. It's unfair. And if we get it now or 2 years from now, Major League-wise,
are we a
deal?
big league city?
Oh, of course we're a big league city.
We're as big league as anybody else.
Why?
Why not?
All right, let's
2.5 million people here. That's why.
Mark Larson, you, among others, and a lot of us were very concerned when the news broke yesterday that Tampa Bay was rated number 3. There's a lot on the line. Do we have what it takes? Are we big league?
Oh, yeah, I think that the market is big league. It's just that this is a really funny market. It's because I guess everybody comes from different places. I was amazed last year during election times when I found out that only 25% of the registered voters in Florida are native. That blew me away. I thought it was the other way around.
Thank goodness. I'd be scared if they were.
I guess so. But because that we all have diverse interests, we're all into different things, and it's very tough for us to concentrate and support any one big deal like a baseball team or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, especially when they're losers. Here's one for the table. On Major League Baseball. How about if we lower this, what is that, franchise rate of $95 million?
$95 million.
All right. How do you ever expect to get minority ownership in baseball at $95 million? I right now would like to submit that we waive all franchise costs for minority ownership in Major League Baseball.
It ain't going to happen, and the reason that there's a $95 million franchise fee is because they don't want to expand. They want to scare you away. $95 million just to get in there, and then they tell you, be prepared to spend another $50 million to operate the baby for the next year. That's $145 million. Do you know how long you're going to be in this game before you realize the profit from it?
Well, I have a vested interest in Major League Baseball, and it's called my property tax bill. Many of us were vehemently opposed to the building of the building that I have. There's a gag order on me. I can't talk about it. But
referring to these
baseball is terrific, but I'm a free enterprise freak. I am for private enterprise, and that stadium should have been built with private bucks.
Before we get off on that argument about the stadium, let me just point out one thing. Talk about whether we're a big league town or not, whether we could support baseball. Oakland is not God's half acre, okay?
Right.
And when I was living there and the A's were there, and you remember this, Teddy, before La Russa, when the A's had a miserable record, this same debate went on. Well, can the Bay Area, can San Francisco support two teams? There's too much going on. There's too much recreation. What happened when the A's started winning? Now you can't get a ticket. Well. Okay, now you can't get a ticket, and they're glad that the Levi family kept the A's there instead of taking them some other place. Let's forget the politics. Baseball's fun. Let's have some fun. Let's have some baseball. And I hate to use this kind of terminology this early in the morning, but screw Miami and Denver, which should be here.
All right. Already every line is full here at 970 WFLA. Let's go ahead and go to the phone. Probably the guy we need to get to the quickest is on the GTE Mobile Net Star line. He is Frank on the Howard Franklin. Frank, good morning.
Good morning. First-time caller. I have a lot of respect for everybody on your panel.
Thanks. What's the question?
I have to agree with Jay Marvin. I believe he just said it. Forget about the politics. We've waited long enough for baseball. I think the kids have to be thought about. The kids want baseball.
The kids?
And the kids will die without it, of course.
That's true, but I think that, everybody in the area, you can go back and forth on a political issue, and whether or not we deserve it or not, and Ted, I agree with you, there's a lot of things we did not do as a group, but it still stands to reason that everybody's fought hard to get baseball. The majority of people, in my opinion, and again, it's just an opinion, would like to have baseball here, and I think we just need to have baseball.
Quick bottom line question to Teddy. Will we support it? Will the fans show up? Let's face it, expansion teams lose in the first
I think if we get a team in here, enough people will support it to be able to make it prosper. I'm just worried whether the people that are in charge of bringing it here did the right thing by offering to pay 60% cash and 40% leverage, while Miami and Denver said, let's just cover the whole thing cash-wise.
Frank, a question for our esteemed panel?
I agree with exactly what Ted just said. I think maybe we went about it a little bit wrong initially, but now we do have a second win, and let's fight with that win.
Yeah, let's go for it. Let's get baseball.
There's something about baseball as opposed to football. See, I'm not a big sports freak, and I don't go to a lot of football games, but baseball is neat because it's so relaxing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something cool about a baseball game.
It's territorial.
And I can't tell you who the players are. Yeah, I can't tell you, the intricacies of the game.
When you follow a local team, you can.
You're right.
All right, I recognize this next name is Gino in West Shore, a frequent caller to Mark Larson, in fact, at 970 WFLA. And Gino, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Al, and to this esteemed body of talk show hosts.
Ted,
by the way, Ted Webb, the Mike Royko of Tampa Bay. Listen, guys, I got a proposition. It's obvious these people are failing us, the powers that be. So I think we got to turn the heat up a little bit on, namely the St. Pete. Since they took the lead on getting baseball, they've got to.
They rolled the dice, Gino. They didn't take any lead. They put the taxpayers in a hostage situation, and they rolled the dice.
Well, that's what I mean. If they don't get baseball, punishment must be meted out, and I think we're going to lay it on the table. If we don't get baseball,
wait a minute, Gino,
you can't punish anybody. They all left.
Forgive me, gentlemen. Jay Marvin shaking his head no. Let's investigate it.
Here's
Why?
the proposition. If we don't get it, Bob Ulrich and Rick Dodge become co-directors of St. Pete Senior Citizen Department, and they bring out the green benches and repaint them, and Sandy Friedman can get a paint your heart out crew.
I'd love to have the green benches back, and don't forget Bob Ulrich just took a gig with the law firm now that works with Bay Plaza.
Indeed,
it's so ancestral.
Bob Ulrich. And then we need a special tax in the St. Pete Times to pay for any dome deficit. and since they're so litigious and we might lose in court, we'll donate the dome to the Nelson Pointer Media Institute.
All right, now hold on, gentlemen, for just a moment. Jay, why are you cackling here?
Because, I mean, excuse me, Gino, but what a waste of rhetoric. If we don't get an expansion team, then let's try to woo somebody else. Look, Seattle's in trouble.
We'll get somebody.
It's a disaster. Teddy, Seattle disaster.
Seattle, Cleveland, Houston,
Cleveland
and
wants
Pirates.
gone.
Yeah.
Houston. Okay, the guy who owns the Astrodome and the Houston Astros has booked the Republican National Convention in there in the middle of the baseball season.
Wow.
So how much does he care about whether they have baseball or not? Now, he claims he's going to try to keep the team in the city of Houston, but we've heard that before. And the Giants, furthermore. Bob Laurie has not gotten the stadium in China Basin in California that he's wanted now. Oh, this is Ted. How long has it been going on? 5-6 years?
A long time.
One of these teams will move.
I like the name of the
Rick
Tampa Bay
Dodge.
Pirates.
You know, forget about Ulrich. Let's just have baseball.
Tampa Bay Pirates has a nice ring to it, doesn't it?
And they are very interested, apparently, in, of course,
Mariners?
Cleveland.
Well,
Mariners would work.
Mariners would be great, too.
Let's face it, we've reached a point in this great nation when we still got many problems and we're arguing like hell over a sport. And let's face it, big corporations have taken over baseball like they've everything else in this country, and they're perverting it like they've done a lot of other institutions.
And
in
big
this
sports have taken over politics in some cases.
Gino, we must move along. I certainly
Hey,
thank you.
guys, this is great.
All right.
And by the way, you're the number one in the whole US of A. Ooh.
And we're 100%
All right,
American-owned, too.
920, 970 WFLA, Battle of the Talk hosts, Ted Webb, Mark Larson, Freddie Mertz, Jay Marvin, and your moderator, yours truly, Al Gardner. 920, good morning. 93, 970 WFLA, where, by the way, Major League Baseball has speaking of which, has a doubleheader this weekend featuring the Padres and the Pirates Saturday, 6:50. And the Blue Jays and the Orioles will meet up Sunday night, 7:07. That is all of your baseball on the Tampa Bay Baseball Connection. 970 WFLA. Now then, someone is paying for their own car phone, but they didn't call in the GTE moment at Starline, so that means it's costing a bundle. And I know, Freddie, that tears your heart apart. Lauren, good morning.
How you doing? Let me tell you, this phone call is costing national debt, but it's worth it. I live in Orlando. I travel a lot over to the Gulf side, and let me tell you, WFLA is a breath of fresh air. I mean, not only am I entertained, but I'm also enlightened by listening to your program.
Well, you know, you can write what do they call WWNZ over there, and WDBO, and drag them kicking and screaming into the 1960s. But, yeah, I think we are the better choice than they are.
Normally, I just get to listen to Ted Webb and Mark Larson a lot, and very rarely do I get to listen to Jay Marvin, but, I mean, this is a nice treat. But I actually have two questions. The one pertaining to baseball is, number one, a little while ago there was an environmental/baseball issue about what the material of the baseball bat should be made out of, whether wood or the new aluminum bats. And I'd like to hear the panel's answer to that, but also, I'd like to, one other question too, then I'll get off so I can listen to your response. I'm interested in what the other panelist's response to the New World Order that Mark Larson has also talked a lot about on his program.
All right, Lauren, we'll save you the rest of your bill. Thanks a lot, and you're going to listen.
Very good.
All right, here we go. Mark, let's start with you.
Baseball? What, wood? Make the bat out of wood. I mean, I'm a traditionalist.
Something tells me he didn't spend the national debt to ask about what a baseball bat's made of. Yeah. Let's talk about the New World Order for a second.
New World Order. I have had a guy that everyone likes to listen to, Ralph Epperson, who's pretty interesting and entertaining as well. You've made a comment about the way he ties Ronald Reagan movies into into the argument. And I've always told people, no matter if it's him or David J. Smith or anybody else who comes on to talk about world conspiracy, take what you want out of the argument. If you like something, if something interests you, take that out and research it and follow up on it. I'm not telling everyone to buy what these people say lock, stock, and barrel. Any guest that I have on, I have quite a few guests, that doesn't mean that I endorse everything they say. I'm simply bringing another voice in besides mine, and you can take whatever you want and use it.
Jay Marvin, New World Order, some ominous threat to our well-being?
I don't know. Where is the New World Order?
In the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank.
I mean, where is it? I don't know. I keep hearing it. I've heard about it for years. It used to be the Illuminati.
It's in the White House.
It used to be all these things about the Trilateral Commission. I think we're a conspiracy-oriented a group of people, and we like conspiracies.
Freddie
I like them. I think everybody likes them.
Have you ever read the materials of the Trilateral Commission?
Yeah, I sure have.
All right.
Mark,
sure.
I know you've researched. You got a lot to say. Freddie Mertz, what do you say?
I agree with Jay on this one. Don't tell anybody, but it's the same old order. There's no New World Order.
Yeah, same old order.
Ted Webb.
To me, biblically, I see it as the beast.
Meaning?
The beast. The New World Order is the beast that we hear so much about.
Meaning? Go and educate us,
George
Ted.
Bush is the Antichrist.
There's nothing new about this conspiracy concept. I mean, there's nothing new about it. It's been going on for a long, long time. But it's just how far do you want to take it? How extreme or like the ultra right-wing fundamentalists can really get out there in left field.
Let's move away from this part of the enlightened discussion. Go back to the telephone. 970 WFLA. Mike, good morning.
Good morning. I've got something for Ted on the baseball thing.
Baseball.
Okay, has anybody discussed the Augie Bush connection in this delay of the...
But Augie Bush being opposed to Coors owning a piece of the pie?
Yes. And,
no, I think that they realized that the Coors infusion of cash into the Denver franchise is going to be good for baseball in general, even though Budweiser is such a great big sponsor.
You don't think Augie Bush has been talking to Ficardi and found, Augie knows that Tampa fell a little bit behind and tried to hold things off?
No, to be honest with you, Augie's not really playing a big role in this right now. It's Fred Coleman who's playing a big role in it.
Let me shoot in, Mike, that Ted has an excellent source on this, Ted. We don't go into who the source is, but suffice it to say, you know what you're talking about.
The situation with the Coors thing, everybody thought that the Cardinals would lobby greatly against Denver because of Coors getting into the picture. And I mean, who would love to see a St. Louis Cardinal game? And we're live at Coors Stadium in Denver. Well, that doesn't matter. I mean, they know that it's good money.
Jay Marvin.
Question for Ted Webb, though. Will they allow Coors to be sold at the ballpark in Denver, or will it exclusively be Budweiser?
I guess in Denver it would be Coors beer.
And Budweiser, perhaps.
And Budweiser. In Milwaukee, I'm sure you don't just get Bud at the ballpark.
Miller Lite.
I believe in Milwaukee, and I believe in Milwaukee. The last time I was there to see any kind of sporting event, I believe you can buy old style there.
You know, this kind of junk's been going on for years. I remember when I was a little boy growing up in Philadelphia, in fact. What was his name? Byram Som did the Philadelphia Phillies games, and he would open up with the St. Louis game. And we're here broadcasting at the stadium. He couldn't say, because Ballantine Beer, who had a plant here in Tampa, was the sponsor for the Philadelphia Phillies. And Mike, thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. 970 WFLA, 929. And this, by the way, I should point out, is the battle of the talk show hosts, Ted Webb, Mark Larson, Freddie Mertz, Jay Marvin, and yours truly, Al Gardner. 970 WFLA, 9:33 is the time. Ted Webb is with us. Mark Larson is with us. Freddie Mertz, Jay Marvin. All parts of the battle of the talk show host. My name is Al Gardner, moderating here at 970 WFLA. We have done these in the past. A critique, if we may. Jay Marvin has been what?
Well, I think
excuse me.
I think we get too wrapped up in arguing with ourselves. Let's see if we can take like a lot of calls here this morning. Let the callers take it where they want to go.
Then let's do it. Peggy, good morning.
Morning. Good morning, gentlemen.
Hi.
I realize that my subject is probably going to put a lot of you at a disadvantage because you have an expert on the panel in the subject of the Civil Rights Bill.
Mm-hmm.
So those of you who are less informed are really going to have to wing it. Mr. Mark Larson.
Are you saying that facetiously or seriously?
Well, you may make the interpretation.
Okay.
I do want to say that I hope Mark knew more about the Civil Rights Bill than he did about the destructive.
All right, now you and he are going to engage in a debate. Let's get you to ask the question first.
The question is, I want to hear all of your opinions on the flick-flap that's been running around about the Civil Rights Bill, the various bills, and what has been said, and the fruitcakes and the nutcases that have come out of the opposition to the Democratic Civil Rights Bill.
All right, Peggy, I'm going to leave you on the line here. You can jump in when you wish. Mark, let's start with you.
It's very simple. If you just go back in American history, if you look at the Civil Rights Acts of 1865, 1866, and 1867, if you look at the 14th Amendment, if you look at the Civil Rights Act of 1964, nothing else needs to be said on the basis of sex, religion, creed, national origin, color. Nothing else needs to be said. All of the pieces, all of the framework, all of the instruments are in place to prevent discrimination. Now, what we're looking at with this bill today that was voted on in the House yesterday and passed, by the way, now it's going to go to the Senate. The Senate also has 3 different versions they're going to be looking at that are similar. The president said he'll veto it, thank God. Well, the reason they bring up the term quota...
wait, Mark, before you get into that, the reason for this bill is that several recent Supreme Court decisions have weakened individuals' rights to sue.
All right,
now, this bill will correct that.
Well, but then again, Al, there have been other Supreme Court decisions that have upheld. In other words, there's an Executive Order 11246 that's still on the books. There was a Supreme Court decision that said racial measures, including quotas, were authorized in judicial decisions under Title VII, which is part of the 1964 Civil Rights Act.
Bottom line, you like it, dislike it?
Well, what I'm saying is, Al, there have been Supreme Court decisions that have upheld Title VII, and there have been Supreme Court decisions that have watered it down. And depending on what politician you're talking to, depending on what election is looming next year, they're going to tell you that their version's watered down, and the others will tell you the current laws are okay.
All right,
I'm telling you, there have been rulings on both sides of the fence, and I've got the evidence right here. I've got about 400 pages of it right here.
I'm going to come back to Mark on the question of quotas, but Jay Marvin, you got the floor.
Well, I think the big problem here with this debate is simply this. that we know that discrimination does go on. We know that it goes on against more than just African Americans. We know that it goes on against the handicapped. We know that it goes on against women. We know that it goes on against people for religious views. The real problem with all of this is that it could have easily have been worked out between the executive branch, the Congress, and the business community, which people like Henry Hyde are so scared are going to get hurt. The problem is that George Bush wants to use this for his political gain. And here's a great example of how. By getting C. Boyden Gray and John Sununu to chase the Business Roundtable out of the discussions with the civil rights community, when the Business Roundtable admitted that the quotas was a sham. Now, somebody will come forward and say, well, what about small business? You know, the Business Roundtable doesn't represent small business.
What about big business?
All right, well, the Business Roundtable does represent big business. All right, so why not have the small business through whatever apparatus they want to use, the Chamber of Commerce or whatever, why not bring them into the picture and have them discuss it? The thing is that George Bush doesn't want it discussed because he wants to use it as a campaign issue.
Okay,
and if he didn't, he wouldn't have said anything.
He wants a second Willie Horton.
I'd like to respond to that. Just as Jay says that the Republicans are using this for their agenda, what about Richard Gephardt, for God's sakes? This man is posturing himself for the 1992 presidential election. He's been the most outspoken on this quota bill, and I'll tell you what, he is using it to try to use it, I should say, to his advantage, and it ain't going to work.
You guys sound like Washington.
Excuse me.
It's partisan. You guys are arguing
excuse me, I've got to bring something else up that people are not looking at, just like we had an unfortunate caller yesterday who knew nothing what he was talking about. This bill, this H.R. 1 that passed yesterday, is a tort system. It calls for a jury system, and it will allow unlimited awards, period. I
thought there was a cap of
Excuse me, I'm going to explain the $150,000 cap. Listen to this, is for punitive damages. It's supposed to be limited to $150,000, but the language says, they won't tell you this, $150,000 or an amount equal to the compensatory damages, whichever is greater.
How do you motivate the employer to hire somebody?
Excuse me, the compensatory damages include pain and suffering and humiliation, which
all happens.
Which is all subjective.
I have that during employment. Don't raise your voice.
I have that during
Don't raise your voice. Just calm down. Regardless of whether
I'm bringing facts to the table, gentlemen. I've done my research.
Calm down. Regardless of whether we're talking about how you read it or anybody else reads it, the point is that as caring human beings, we could have sat down and we could have worked it out. The point is the White House doesn't want to work it out. Never mind about the Democrats. The White House does not want to work it out.
All right, gentlemen.
And Dick Thornburg set the tone, and so did
let me jump in for a second.
Just
hold on. I've got to shut the mics here. You must please respect the finger here. You can give me one back, but you got to respect it. We have not yet heard. We heard a little bit from Freddie. Haven't heard from Ted, and Ted is busting at the seams to get in, but he doesn't have the volume.
No, he's not.
The volume you guys have.
100% against it, and the way that it stands right now, you talk about quotas. If a Haitian comes over from Haiti, and we've got Nicaraguan coming over, they fall under the black and Hispanic protection of this, which means, you've been here your entire life. You've gone to war. You've got children you're raising. They're perhaps veterans coming back. They apply for a job. Here's a Nicaraguan who is in competition with them for a job, and he's protected under the umbrella that protects the Hispanic. And
he should be.
As he should be.
Ted, you're a man of Hispanic descent. Have you ever needed any of this extraneous bull to get a job?
Never. Let me tell you something. I got into the business long before there was a quota system or you had to have X amount of blacks or Hispanics working.
Well, there's a reason, though. You're a very talented guy. But besides that, though, Tampa's a very strange animal. And I think Gasparilla shows that to us. In that in this metro,
Ted also worked in Minnesota.
The Hispanic and the white are almost considered to be one race, at least if you're a Cuban American.
No, don't buy that.
Two or three generations.
There was a time here in the 50s, Freddie, when you would walk down Florida Avenue and see a sign saying no niggers, no Cubans, and no dogs.
But the power brokers in this metro, though, have been Cuban American and, if you will, white American, whatever that means.
Don't buy that.
Yeah, try shopping that by if you live in Meridian, Mississippi.
What I'm trying to say is more than in most metros, though. Metros like Miami and Tampa, where you have a strong, thriving Cuban-American business community.
Get your job on merit.
Well,
and if you're not good enough,
but some folks don't have a chance to have the entree.
Gentlemen, hold on a sec. The caller, Peggy, has the floor.
I want to say that the best jobs are usually gotten with you either have a relative, a brother-in-law, your father, your cousin, your brother. We all have gotten jobs through friends. There's a vast underground network. That doesn't take into any minority or what have you. It's who you know, and you know it, and I know it.
Peggy, listen, thank you. We're going to move ahead. Mark Larson gets the floor next. 970 WFLA. Stand by, gentlemen. 970 WFLA. Battle of the Talk Hosts.
Who's taking
WFLA.
It is 9:44 on 970 WFLA's Battle of the Talk Hosts.
First coffee spill. Mark lost his bill. First coffee spill.
Oh, he sure did. Well, Mark is teaming, and he'll have the microphone in 10 seconds.
Yeah,
but
right
first, join 970 WFLA for live coverage of the third and final leg of the Triple Crown, the Belmont Stakes, Saturday afternoon at 5 only on 970 WFLA. He's got a stack of papers in his hand cleaning up the coffee, but Mark, you got the mic.
Just in summation on this thing, and this is not speaking from the heart, this is speaking from case history. There's a case called Griggs that people need to look up, and what that basically said, I mentioned Executive Order 11246. I'm not trying to get too technical. I just want to let you know, we can speak from our hearts here in the room, but when it goes to a court of law, that's when the poo-poo really hits the fan. Under this executive order, employers were under pressure to prefer minorities under pressure in hiring in order to avoid being found out of compliance with the affirmative action obligation. This is quick. At the same time, both measures, 11246 and Title VII of the 1964 Civil Rights Code, expressly prohibited discrimination against individuals because of race. Both are in complete contradiction of each other. And the bottom line is here, employers will be under pressure to be statistically correct, otherwise face disparate impact proceedings. And that's the bottom line.
That's disheartening, and that sounds sick. But what about the employer that will not touch a black or a Jew or a Hispanic? What do you do with them?
I had a caller yesterday that said, Mark, if you have 100 people in a workforce and your market is 20% ethnic, you should have to have 20% ethnic on your workforce. I said, what if the jobs available dictate that there's nobody there that's qualified?
In other words, affirmative action is discrimination. It discriminates, and that's your bottom line point.
That's the bottom line. And it was upheld in court. It's right here.
You know, one of the bottom lines, in 28 years of broadcasting, I have run into more situations where a minority was fired for lack of performance and turned around and used the discrimination angle as the reason that he or she were let go, and it was totally unfounded. The people that were canning him for non-performance. Yet they sue. It cost the company a bundle to defend itself, even if the company is upheld finally.
But I've worked in the South the majority of my 18, 19 years in this business, and I've seen cases, particularly in sales and other areas which are off the air, where women and African Americans
had no access.
Had no access and couldn't get hired.
Let's talk about
and employers have come forward and candidly admitted to those of us working in the building. And I'll cite you an example, which was Lynchburg, Virginia, where he can't work here because it will hurt business.
Well, it's all in the name, though. Any black that wants to work in the Lynchburg, I mean, please.
That's very true.
Yes. All right, let's go back to the phone. Adrian has been waiting patiently at 970 WFLA in Tampa. Adrian, good morning.
Morning, one and all.
Morning.
Thank you for taking my call.
Everybody can hear you.
I'm not too much opposed to athletics, but I'm not too worried about a baseball team. I got a bigger concern on my mind, and it's the politicians that we have, starting on the local level. And I don't know about you people, but I treat them like they're a bad employee. And I don't show them any respect unless they deserve it. And
all right, now, with all due respect, Adrian, you've got basically an open line talk show with 4 hosts and a moderator. So what's your question to them?
Well, the problem is, what are we going to do about the politicians we have not doing what we want them to do? You got the discussion you're having right now, the civil rights issue. The majority of people were downtown at the Performing Arts Center were against the civil rights issue. We've got it all over. You've got, if you're going to have a quota, which one is going to go, Jay or Freddie?
Gentlemen,
they're not even considered minorities.
Why would you mention that, by the way? If we have a quota, who goes? Why'd you pick Jay and Freddie?
Why did you pick us two, Adrian?
Huh?
Why'd you pick us two? Is it because we may be the only Jews sitting in the room?
Yes.
Well, all right.
So it bothers you having
our case.
Yeah, it bothers you having 2 Jews on the same talk station?
No, he's Jewish.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's going to bother somebody, Freddie. They're going to say that one of you has to go so they can have a job.
No, that's not what we're talking about.
All right, gentlemen, let me phrase the question in a different way. If an orchestra, for example, has no black members, that signals a problem. What is the problem? What is the solution? Black organizations are saying it signals that for 350 years, blacks have been purposely held down, and we have to discriminate through affirmative action to fix that. What is the problem that shows, and what is the solution? Anybody?
Well, I don't think anybody's for quotas, and I think that affirmative action is definitely in question. But I think the problem is, as Freddie brought up, is access. That's the biggest thing is access.
We have to ask why they invented affirmative action. It's a horrible solution, but why was there a requirement for something like that?
I've had people call me at night on the air. Adrian, you listen tonight. You know you've heard this. Who will blatantly say, I won't hire blacks, I won't hire Hispanics, and I will never hire somebody who's gay or lesbian. Now, all I say to those callers in response is, Thank you very much. You've just made my case.
Why the hell would you want to go work for somebody that wouldn't want to hire you?
Adrian asked his question. What Adrian?
Ted brings a very good point. That why would I want to work for an employer who maybe hates my race or my people or my religion?
Exactly. All right.
Why?
Exactly.
Because I want to work for the employer to pay my bills.
Would you be happy there?
I want to be,
that
for
kind
example,
of an atmosphere?
I may hate J-Corp Broadcasting. And off the record, some folks know that I hate certain elements of it. But I love this radio station.
Off the record, he said.
Off the record.
Right.
But I love this radio station.
Can I address Adrian's original question?
Sure.
Because he started talking about politicians and dovetailed it into the Civil Rights Bill. This is very important to understand the fact that this bill is nothing more than a political football.
Exactly.
There were three versions in the House. One was an extremely stringent Democratic bill. There was a more moderate Democratic bill. And then the lenient Republican bill. Hold up, Jay.
What did Sam vote on him?
Listen to this.
Leaned into the mic. What are you gonna say?
Sam Gibbons and Bill Young. Here's a Democrat and a Republican. That's why it's bipartisan. No one party's to blame. Both of these guys each voted for the most stringent and the most lenient, so they can go back to their constituents when they're asked how they came down on it. Oh, I voted for your side. They both voted both ways.
But Mark, that's the way Washington has always worked.
But do you understand that is the point I'm making? That this bill is a political football. It is posturing for 1992.
Well, nobody's denying that.
Well, then, do you want to pass a bill that is nothing more than political posturing?
I'll go back to exactly what I originally said. If we're caring human beings, and if we definitely care about, see, you get this disgusted look on your face, but listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're leading off the mic.
Listen to what I'm saying to you. We could have gotten together, they could have gotten together, and they could have worked it out. And it is precisely because of politics
and I agree.
that they don't want to work it out.
I agree.
Okay?
They haven't worked it out.
George Bush wants another Willie Horton. And the fact is, that's the same thing as George Bush is going to the Southern Baptist Convention or whatever it is today to talk about family and all of these values. Well, maybe he'd like to stand up today and discuss how his son got caught cheating at tennis in Dallas. Okay,
Adrian,
let
me ask you a question, Al.
All right, Adrian, forgive me. We must move along.
Can I ask one question, please, Joel?
Wait a minute. Hold on, guys. Adrian, we have to move. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Anyway, can you call again?
Yeah, sure. Thanks,
Thanks.
Al.
Very much appreciated. 950, 970 WFLA. 970 WFLA, 954 is the time. This is the Battle of the Talk Show hosts. I don't remember when I had more fun with my clothes on in a long time. Ted Webb, Mark Larson, Freddie Merch, Jay Marvin, all on hand here. Yours truly, Al Gardner, the moderator at 970 WFLA. Back to the phone. And Patrick in North Tampa, good morning.
Good morning. How you doing, gentlemen?
Terrific.
I'm an avid listener to your program, have been for about 6 months now. I got a question based on the civil rights bill here. Jay, you've got a real good point when you talk about the, if you're carrying human beings, but I have to go back and look at it from Ted's point of view as well. If, as an employer, I need people that work for me that are capable in what they do. If they can't do the job required, regardless of who they are, where they're born, what color their skin is, if they're incompetent, I've got no use for them.
Then don't hire them if they're incompetent.
Wait a minute, let me respond to that. Patrick, I think the point you bring up is real good, and I think the point that Teddy brings up is real good. And we have a terrible, terrible habit. I said this to a caller a couple of nights ago. We have a terrible habit of yardsticking others' behaviors based on the way we think. Now, you're a rational guy. You would probably, wait a minute, let me finish. You'd probably hire somebody who's qualified. But there are people out there, and whether it's 5 people in this business community or it's 25 people in this business community, who are not as rational as you are, who are not as open-minded as you are. They have in the past, and they will continue to discriminate not only, and we cast this civil rights thing in a black and white issue, but they'll do it against women, they'll do it against the handicapped, and once more, you know what? They'll do it against people for religious beliefs as well. Seventh-day Adventists, Mormons, others.
Well, keep them out.
Yeah, let me ask you something. If a guy opens up a business, let's get bottom line. Here's a guy investing his money into his business. Shouldn't he have the right to hire who the hell he wants?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is not the government that's supplementing his
Chad,
business.
He's excluded, though. Being a small business, he's not going to have that dirty Q word.
No, but
if he has over 15 employees, he does.
The bottom line. I mean, if you're gonna open up your business, shouldn't you hire who you want to hire?
Are you saying racism and sexism is right?
No, I'm merely saying
racism and sexism notwithstanding, though.
I'm saying maybe this guy here found somebody for his business that he'd like to bring in, but according to the EEOC, he can't because he is short on Hispanic or black help. So instead of getting the guy that's best suited for the job, who might have 20 years experience, he has to go with somebody who is not as experienced. And I mean,
yeah, but nobody's arguing
That's
that
such
point.
an easy argument.
All right, well,
That's a real easy argument, but nobody's arguing that.
Gentlemen, let me jump in and do this because I think that's exactly what our next caller on a car phone, Terry, is saying at 970 WFLA. Terry, good morning.
Good morning. How you
Terry,
doing?
good.
I just wanted to bring up a point now that you gentlemen are all talking about this morning about the white discrimination. I can recall back in 1980, one of the utility companies called me in after filling out an application. They sent me down to take an exam. In this exam room, there's about 20 whites, 5 blacks. They call me back 3 weeks later after they get the results, bring me in for a final interview. The guy tells me I do very well on the test. The problem he has here is there's 5 openings. He's hiring 1 engineer, and he has to hire 4 blacks. That's white discrimination to me. I mean, I don't think this is right, and this happens with this has been going on with the utility company.
It is in 1991, but what if for the past 30 years they were hiring no black engineers?
Yeah, where were you in 1955? Where were you in 1955?
Not
was anybody
1955
yelling
anymore.
in 55? Was anybody yelling in 58? No, it isn't that way
you're
anymore.
right. I'm the graduate right now. It is unfair right now. You have a point there.
I mean, he has a valid point, and not everybody, nobody's saying that quotas or affirmative action is correct. But what Freddie said to you, Mark...
Oh, wait, excuse me. Everybody in this room agrees that affirmative action has outlived its usefulness.
It
and should be
sucks.
passed.
Absolutely.
Well, I have mixed emotions about it. I still I respect the reason why
I do too.
the notion was come up with. I don't like. I mean, it's a horrible term. Affirmative action, quota.
Should we be curving the results of aptitude tests of minorities so they can be on par with
race
whites
norming
for jobs? Yes. Is that proper?
See, the point is though, what you failed to address, which Freddie brought up, is very true. Race norming, quotas, affirmative action, all set aside. How are you going, and what instrument are you going to use to protect that person who walks in to apply for a job and is turned down because the person who is hiring, and by the way, hiring is a very, very personal thing that goes on between management and the person who is in the interview process. How are you going to protect that person who would be turned down because this guy or this woman doesn't like them for the color of their skin or their sex? How are you going to help them?
And Terry, how are you going to prove it, though?
Terry, thanks very much.
How are you going to disprove it?
Ted Webb, a quick question.
Exactly.
You should be able to hire anybody that you wish.
Exactly.
If you run a business, should you be able to hire only females who will have sex with you?
if that's your if you're running a cat house, yeah, I would imagine.
If it has nothing to do with sex, the business itself, and you run Grumman Aircraft.
Just bottom line, if I run Grumman Aircraft, then I want people that have experience working in aircraft because I want to get a good government contract and I want to be able to put out the best product. I want to be able to hire who I want. And if there's a guy who's coming over from China who's a great aircraft worker, I want to hire him. If there's a black guy coming from Bohutu, Botswana who's talented at this, I want to hire him. I don't want the government to tell me you must hire X amount from this race or from this nationality.
Where are all the black shuttle astronauts, gentlemen? Don't we need some action to get more black astronauts in the space program?
Sure.
Oh, yeah, are they statistically correct?
Well, I don't know. Why don't you look at the education process, then you can figure that out.
The point is, if the space program is lacking, shouldn't they be under pressure?
Keep it here, 970 WFLA, Battle of the Talk Hosts.
970 WFLA. Our commitment to news is a commitment to you. Depend on it.